Ngā mihi nui kia koutou katoa. I thought I would begin by welcoming everyone who has come here today or who is watching by live stream. I wanted to explain the procedure for today as we make a decision on the next stage of developing the last of the anchor projects which were revealed to the city in 2012 as part of what was known as the Blueprint. Developed in 100 days to mirror the 100 days it took to build a temporary stadium, the city has waited a long time for this last of the projects. Today is about restoring certainty and confidence. We are here to vote on a notice of motion, which I will say is a process that was designed to give notice to the council and its advisors so that we can prepare ourselves for making a good decision based on sound advice. Unfortunately, when we last considered this, we had no notice of the amendment that we are essentially reconsidering today. I hope that's a lesson to us all about the importance of no surprises. I'm hoping that there will be no more today. I'm not expecting any. Today we have the advice that we need to make a decision, bearing in mind the costs are all based on estimates. I want to acknowledge all of those who have provided support to the response team that was set up when the budget estimates forced a review of the scale and budget for the project. I want to thank the key user groups, the stakeholders. It actually doesn't matter what you're called, your support has been utterly invaluable. I want to also acknowledge all of the people who've come to make presentations today, and all those who've sent emails and signed the online petition. It doesn't matter what number is used, $50 million is a lot to put on a budget after a long-term plan has just been signed off. There are people in this room and outside this room who have formed very strong views on this issue. And all I ask for today from everyone is that we play the ball and not the player, and that everyone is treated with respect. When we come to a decision today, we can then get on with giving this city an arena that is without parallel in Aotearoa and reinstate us as the undeniable sporting capital of New Zealand with the best concert venue we have seen. We will hear from the people using the public participation provisions first. We will then receive the petition and then we will move to the notice of motion. Staff will present their advice. We have B6 Watpac, Venues Otautahi, Christchurch NZ, all available to answer questions. We will then move to debate, and I should note that I'm anticipating a foreshadowed motion that I will deal with if required. So, on with the presentation, and I'd like to invite Annabelle Turley on behalf of the Central City Business Association to make the first of the presentations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for having me today. So when the news came out about having the arena only seating 25,000 people, we had an overwhelming response from our members about how they felt pretty much ripped off. Because as you know, in the Blueprint, the original arena was supposed to be 35,000 plus 4,300 temporary seats. And that was when most of our members had either built buildings or signed leases. So we thought we should do a survey to find out actually, was it just those people who had loud opinions that we were hearing from, or is it something that we found across our wide membership base? So we sent out a Mailchimp survey to our members and we got such overwhelming response that we actually had to increase our subscription to this because we had never heard so much feedback, so that's great. Unfortunately, only 52% of them opened the email, and you probably are aware that often with these Mailchimp surveys they go to people's junk or spam folders. So I think that's probably why we had a lower open rate. But of that open rate, 87% of the people actually answered the survey, so they really wanted to tell us what they thought so we could tell you guys what they think. So nearly half of those that answered the survey actually invested based on the plans for the multi-use arena. So back in 2019, our current membership, we had 86% of our members were members then. So that is probably why we, I think, had a lower number. Personally, for my business, a pharmacy, people think, well, that won't really matter. But talking to colleagues in Dunedin, when they had pink, it was like Boxing Day sales on steroids. They had to take extra staff from student job search just to check people out at the counter. So that's the sort of thing that we are potentially going to miss out on if we have a short-sighted stadium seating. So I think that that's really important. And also, like, when, for example, I worked the Easter that Ed Sheeran played in Dunedin, City Mall was probably the quietest I've ever seen it. So that it's not just about the people coming to the city, it's about the people who exit the city when there's something on in Dunedin. And as we are the gateway to the South Island, we really actually need to be better than Dunedin. Over 90% of our respondents did not agree with reducing the seating capacity from 30,000 to 25,000. We do realise that this probably wasn't the best question. We should have actually said from 35,000 to 25,000 because, like I said, in the blueprint, the seating capacity was the 35,000 plus those temporary seats. And since we put this out to the members, I've had overwhelming number of people come and talk to me in the pharmacy about it and how it's so important for them. So I think it's very important for all sorts of people, not just business people. Our members, over 90% of them would like our neighbouring councils to help fund and to operate the multi-use arena because we are all part of Greater Christchurch and we're all going to benefit from this. Over 90% thought that the reduction in the seating capacity was short-sighted. We are New Zealand's biggest city. We're predicted to grow to over 700,000 people in the next 30 years. So this is actually at least a 50-year or more asset. So we really don't want to shortchange our children and grandchildren of an amazing arena. We've got an amazing location for it. So we've really got to think about the whole big picture. 83% think that the council should cut spending in other areas to provide for those 30,000 seats. So they do think it's very, very important. We think that the decision shouldn't be political. It needs to be about Christchurch. We really need to make sure that we are building the best fit for purpose stadium for Christchurch. We all know that we are a world-class city, so we do need that world-class stadium.
Thank you, and that's perfectly timed, so thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next one is Sean Stockman on behalf of the Stockman Group, KPI Rothschild and CBD tenants. Thank you, Sean. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Leanne. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. The 2010-2011 earthquake saw the city decimated right the way through. The blueprint followed 18 months later as part of the Greater Recovery Plan for Christchurch. It was bold and it gave us all the investors, it gave us all confidence to actually reinvest in Christchurch and go again. A lot of us took our money to Auckland, which we're all aware of. That's not good for the city. The anchor projects also gave our tenants confidence to re-sign leases because they knew what was coming, albeit we thought sooner. What is now known as Salt District, which is east of Manchester and south of Lichfield, prior to the quakes, many of you recall, this area had had a renaissance that started in the early 90s, and by the time of the quakes we had lanes, cafes, boutique shops, and we had apartments, which was the high power apartments in the main. But the area was really cool. The quakes really slammed it. In addition to that, the blueprint took a lot of land from Salt District, which was land for housing and, of course, the multi-use arena. The effect of this to date, in my view, has had a social, cultural and hyper-local economic impact on the whole area, and continues to do so today. We've got a lot of tenants in that area, including office tenants, about 150 odd of them, and we're in regular contact with them on how they're going. Of course, when the housing is completed and a fit-for-purpose multi-use arena, hopefully it'll turn this for the Salt District and benefit the city. The area has been really slow to develop, and if you add up who's actually done the development in the area, there's actually 6 people. Those same 6 people and their tenants, when they made that decision to develop, were told that we'd have a 35,000 seat facility by 2017. It's now 2021. It's long overdue. A lot of owners in that area haven't developed, and when you talk to them, they're happy to sit on their land and wait for something to happen, but they're waiting for the arena, and a successful arena. They won't do anything without it. I don't believe that a 25,000 seat facility will cut the cake. We're going to miss medium and larger concerts. We are the second largest city in New Zealand, and a 25,000 seat facility is really a provincial type arrangement. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the weekend that Ed Sheeran was in Dunedin, the revenue into the city was 40 million. Based on my stats, my view is, or based on stats that I've read, we need a minimum 30,000 seat facility with the ability to add an additional 5,000 to 6,000 seats when required. Canterbury is and will continue to grow. It is finally growing. We have a great city in the making, flat land for housing, close proximity to beaches, skiing and international airports, right at our doorstep. I urge you today, as the people making a decision on our future, to take a long-term view and not to sell us short. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. We've got a minute, so Yanni.
Thank you. A lot of people have commented on the positive benefit of Forsyth Bar in Dunedin and about the quantum of seats. I was just interested in how important is the stadium located where it's currently proposed versus, say, Lancaster Park? Like, if we had an option to build 35,000 seats back at Lancaster Park, do you think you'd still get the same benefits that you're thinking that you would get?
No, I don't. No. The close proximity to the CBD adds a lot of benefits. Where Lancaster Park, it's a bit disjointed out there.
Right.
Compared to the CBD, I think it's away from the CBD. There needs to be more activity and more activation around the CBD, which the Metro Sports will do that, Tapai will do that, and the additional hotels will all do that. But we really need people.
Yeah.
In that close proximity to actually build a vibrant city, you need people.
You're really seeing it as one of the suite of venues, and it's what it contributes to the whole that makes the difference.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Look, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank
much
you.
Appreciated. Peter Morrison on behalf of Hospitality New Zealand.
Thank you very much. We've also got our regional manager here, Nikki Rogers, and Michael Patterson, a lot of you will know, is the vice president of our association as well. Thank you for allowing us to speak today. In the Greater Canterbury area, we represent 510 members, and they are all fully supportive of our stance. We're here to advocate for at least a 30,000 permanent seat, high-spec stadium with the concourse to enable us to attract and confirm international music and sports events and tournaments. This will certainly help cement Christchurch as a desirable place to live and consequently attract more businesses to base themselves here and more residents to live here. This obviously means more ratepayers, and this helps offset the increased costs of the additional seats. This is in addition to extra revenue these larger events will generate for the local economy. Councillors, we entirely sympathise with you that you were asked to make your original decision without the latest facts. You now have more fantastic facts around how the $50 million price difference can also be met. I want you all to remember that you will own the Christchurch International Airport. That is a vital asset in your Christchurch Holdings company. It relies on getting more persons through its gates. You also own Lyndon Port, that is forward-thinking, allowing for bigger ships and a new cruise wharf. You and Otakaro have spent billions to revitalise our city. You have both given us the following first-class facilities: the Margaret Mayhew Playground, Te Ranga, our public library, Te Pai Convention Centre opening in 2 months' time, Parakori Recreation and Sports Centre opening at the end of 2022, and the Hagley Cricket Oval, all first-class and future-proofed for the city's next 50 to 80 years. Yesterday, Hospitality New Zealand sponsored the Grand National Hurdles at Riccarton Racecourse. They have just heavily invested tens of millions in an all-weather track for the South Island. Again, future-proofed. A 25,000-seat stadium will sadly not be in that league. We will not be able to compete with other New Zealand venues. Sadly, there appears to be little vision in this whole country when it comes to governments and councils. They are reactionary, not progressive in their thinking. Sure, it costs money when it comes to building for the future, but remember, it will never get any cheaper than it is today. Councillors, these are exceptional times and demands exceptional leadership by you all. To those of you who voted to reduce the stadium size, please show the leadership that is so drastically needed. Do not be afraid to change your view and your vote. This is your chance to leave a legacy for the city. Do it once and do it right. And Michael's going to carry on.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm Michael Patterson from the Commodore Hotel, and I'm a member of the Executive of Hospitality New Zealand and a board member of the Hotel Council of Aotearoa. Today I'm speaking on behalf of the Hotels of Christchurch. Our community truly deserves a high-quality 30,000-seat multi-purpose stadium. What we build today is what we will have for 50-plus years. It is a long-term investment that is not being built for our enjoyment, but for our mokopuna. We really need to invest in their futures. Even for just a few capacity events a year, the economic impact on the city will be huge. The regional benefit from a larger stadium means no Cantabrians leaving to spend their money in other regions, plus the boost that visitors bring to our local economy. Visitors are estimated to spend 4 to 5 times more than locals on these occasions. So it is essential we have a stadium big enough to capture the economic benefit. Here are a couple of examples. When the Lions toured New Zealand in 2017, it is estimated the economic benefit to the country was nearly $200 million, of which Auckland received in excess of $100 million, Wellington $30 million, and Canterbury, given that we just got a midweek provincial game, was a figure well under 10 million. And this is from a PwC economic report. The province we live in deserves better. When Ed Sheeran skipped Christchurch to perform in Dunedin, it's a better stadium, the economic benefit to that city was estimated at 38 million. I know Sean said 40, but this report says 38. Fueled by an influx of 30,000 Cantabrians. Their gain was our loss. It's not a coincidence that Christchurch Airport's biggest days have been when Cantabrians have left for concerts in Auckland and Dunedin. We have missed out on these types of events for 10 years, and as councillors, you now have the opportunity of saying, no more, enough's enough. Success breeds success, and we want to be the best in New Zealand and be known for having the very best quality stadium. We, the people of Canterbury, urge you to amend your vote and secure a 30,000-seat, highly spec'd, multi-purpose arena for the enjoyment of this generation and the generations to follow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Also perfectly timed. So the next one is Lyndon Boyce.
I'm going to pass on this opportunity to speak today. I only speak for myself, where I think we've got more people here that speak for a larger group. What I have to say is being said by all of Christchurch, and I just hope people are listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Brendan Blackmure.
I was told that somebody would be able to distribute a report. Is that possible?
Yes.
So, good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak at this meeting. I'm here today in support of the largest stadium capacity and would hope that I can be of assistance in helping you make that decision. Please excuse me if I am just reading from my notes, but I simply want to articulate as many points as I can in the time available. Just to give you some background, I'm a professional quantity surveyor. I've been in the industry for just over 30 years and have worked predominantly in medium-sized commercial construction. And before you discount what I have to say on the basis of me not having worked on a project of this size, I can assure you that the principles of estimation, no matter the size of the project, remain the same. And it's these principles that rang alarm bells for me when I heard the estimate of 88 million being floated as the additional cost of 5,000 seats. It only took some quick calculations to understand that this was incorrect, and the elected members were being given poor information in which to make such an important decision. I emailed these concerns to both the Mayor and Deputy Mayor, imploring them to reconsider the decision that had been made. I would say that it has been reassuring to me to see that the review of the costings over the last couple of weeks have confirmed my suspicions that you were given inaccurate and misleading information. You should now have received my report that outlines my thinking on this issue. Given the amount of information I've provided, I would like to highlight 5 key points. 1, the span of the building. It has been reported widely that the increased span of the structure has contributed to the higher cost of the project. I've taken the original plan and overlaid it over the top of the RT1 plan, all size to scale, and there is no discernible difference at all in the span of the building. The length of the building reduces, but the width does not. This then brings into question the statements around increased span costs being a contributing factor. This further reinforces my view that you are not being given the correct facts on which to make your decision. 2, functionality. I consider the RT1 proposal significantly compromises the functionality of the arena, which is fanciful given this is meant to be one of the drivers of the project. For example, the plan reduces the number of stair access locations and combines others to a central location, which can only lead to impeding the flow of people and therefore the public experience. I also consider it misleading to remove one stair as part of the cost savings, when it will likely be required for fire accessibility and may need to be factored back in. Toilets, food and beverage facilities have been reduced and the cost of the temporary seating will increase. This is just fancy accounting by moving capital cost to operational cost and really compromises the experience. Imagine going to this new stadium and having to use the equivalent of a portaloo. So in reality, you're not comparing apples with apples. The RT1 proposal provides for a far lesser experience than the 30,000 seat proposal. 3, current estimate of 50 million. I still consider the 50 million floated in the media yesterday is incorrect and overstated. When I initially contacted the council, I felt it was more likely to be 15 to 20 million, based on the back of an envelope costing. With the current available information, which is limited, I have undertaken my own estimate and value the work at 39 million. It is my opinion that you are still not being given the correct information and the current budget is $11 million overstated. 4, savings and funding. Outlined in my report are a few suggestions on savings and alternative funding. One of the savings would involve a redesign of the shape of the building. Circular or oval buildings cost a lot of money and time to construct. It's my opinion that the building should effectively be a rectangle with round corners. This is actually the first thing that should have been considered when trying to reduce the cost, rather than reducing the crowd capacity and future income. Now, before you say this can't be done because it will cause delays, I can assure you this is not the case. Significant gains will be made in critical path times for design and construction because of replication of details, which will also flow into cost savings due to economies of scale. 5. Other considerations. While I've been looking at this project through the eyes of a quantity surveyor, I've also looked at it through the eyes of a member of the public and business community. One of the key drivers of the council is to encourage the use of public transport. There are a couple of issues that I would like to address here. One, there is excessive available parking on the arena site. There is a 4,000 square metre strip of land on Hereford Street highlighted in my report. This could easily be sold to realise 8 to 12 million in funding for the project, as well as netting the council future rate returns. The other item is the orientation of the stadium, which I address in more detail in my report. I consider the stadium needs to be rotated 180 degrees to provide the majority of patrons attending an event easy flow to the central city to support hospitality and access the bus exchange. This is even more critical if you take the RT1 plan into account. This will have no cost implications either way. I would hope that what I've presented today gives you the confidence to make the right decision for the larger stadium and remove some of the doubt and confusion you may have had by the misleading information that you've been given to date. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll move on to